This is Places to Go with Heather Gill. In this episode of People to Know, it's my privilege to interview the wonderful Jennifer Loehding, who's an author, a coach, and a speaker. Hey, Jennifer, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Thanks for having me on here. So I am a author, a coach, a speaker, blogger, podcaster, and I enjoy sharing my story. And when I went through, I've been an entrepreneur for about 20 years. And about 8 years ago, I was diagnosed with a rare nerve condition that kind of changed the direction of where I was headed. And because of that condition, I spent about 4 years in and out of the hospital and wasn't getting any resolve. And so in January 2017, I went on a crusade to basically heal myself and started working with some holistic practitioners and doing some research, and was actually able, after about 22 months of changing my diet, I was able to get off all 6 of my medications and put my nerve pain into remission. And so because of that, I decided that I wanted to find a way to share all that information that I had gathered, going through that crisis. But I knew in order to do that, I had to get really good at talking to people. Like I had to get really good at that. And I was really, really shy before that. And so in January of 2018, I decided to go on another crusade, and that was to work on personal development. And so I went in and decided to get my coaching certification, took some classes, and really just started focusing on how to share this message and communicate with others. And so all of this kind of came fast forward. May of 2019, I decided to write a book about my journey in this process, and launched that out in October. And in that same month, released a podcast, which is all about empowering women. And so everything I do is really, I always tell people, it goes around this whole message of, empowering people to make decisions, make magical decisions, because those magical decisions you make can be the building blocks to changing things in your life. And so the coaching, the speaking, the blogging, the podcast, all of that just layers on top of each other.
Right. No, that is a quite a story, first of all. So let's talk about it for a minute here. Yeah. Throwing the little taco guy up there. So you're telling me for 4 years you were in and out of the hospital with this debilitating disease process going through your body, and you found a way to kind of recover yourself and to get out of that pattern. So can you speak a little bit more to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for me, one of the biggest things I tell everybody is that so much of what we do is really about the mindset. It's about the decision. And for me, I hit a turning point in December of 2015 when I walked into, at that time, it was my GI doctor, because of all the medication that I had been on. It had really taken a toll on me. I was having trouble eating. I had lost 20 pounds over one summer. They'd taken my gallbladder out. I just was not functioning very, very well. I was sick. And, they would look at my records and say I was healthy, but I knew I wasn't. And when I walked out of that doctor's office that day, it's what I call I call these pivotal decisions or magical moments. I walked out and I said, this is not what I can do for the rest of my life. I cannot stay on medication. I cannot live like this. I'm not going to do this. And so I just made this decision to move forward. So I think the biggest thing was the decision. It was the decision that I'm no longer going to be a victim of this circumstance. I'm going to change the course of direction that I'm going. But the other thing is that in the process of making that decision, that's where the research came in. I started doing my homework. I really started looking at connections, trying to figure out, I knew for me personally, medicine wasn't going to be the answer. It wasn't working. It hadn't worked for 4 years. Right. So I started looking at other alternatives, and that was, what could I do? And for me, it was all about food. It was starting to make connections with things in my diet, sugar, for instance, things in there that contributing. And I just decided, I ended up doing, to put it bluntly, I did a ketogenic diet. That's what I did. I basically got to that point where I started out, cutting things out of the diet, gluten, soy, dairy. I realized I was making progress, but wasn't still there. So I knew that there was more to it. And that's what I ended up doing, and did that for 22 months. But I'll tell you, it wasn't until probably the 11th or 12th month in that process before I saw significant improvement. Wow. So it took a lot of really mental stamina to get through that. But, keep in mind, I had 4 years doing the other and it didn't work. I didn't really see an option. I didn't really see an alternative to this situation.
Right. that's a testament to patience. And it's also, and patience probably born out of just the suffering, the fact that you were sick for so long, but being patient and willing to move forward and to keep on the track until you saw the results you were looking for. It's very powerful. And we're in such a, I can go online, or at least before quarantine, I could go on Amazon, put in an order, and I could have it at my doorstep in 2 hours.
Right.
With some items. Like instant gratification, right?
Absolutely.
That's the society we're in. So yeah, kudos to you for sticking it through and finding a solution that worked well for you. So out of this medical crisis, you came into a voice. It sounds like you came into a voice of helping others and speaking to people that were maybe running into some of the same issues that you were running into. So let's transition for a minute and talk a little bit more about, the speaking that you do, the book that you have, and how that relates to the time you went through.
So the book is basically a recount of what I learned going through the process. I tell everybody the first chapter, I tell the story, but the book's not really about the disease or the diagnosis of what I have. It's a suicide disease. There's not really a cure for it. It's really odd that I was able to do that, because most people that I know at the time, I didn't know very many people that had it. I do know more people that have it now, but most of them are still suffering. They haven't been able to really find a way to do that. So really the book is just, it's what I learned going through that journey. And the number two, first chapter is the story. The second chapter is about decisions. It's about the decision, taking ownership. And then I go into self-belief, and I talk about, exercising and eating right and being mindful and all of the all that. So that's what that's about. But yeah, finding the voice, the speaking, really a couple things happened. One, like I mentioned in my growth, was that I wanted to get better at that part of it. But also I found that so many times the reason that we're not making powerful decisions in our life is because we lack the ability to do that. And that comes from a lack of confidence, right? We don't have confidence to make those healthy decisions.
Right.
And so for me, it's a big process. It's not just about, hey, let me tell you how to get healthy, but I like to also tackle what is it that is keeping us from making those decisions. And a lot of that is sabotaging beliefs that we have about ourselves, about people, about life. So really, when I speak, I really like to get in there, and it's not just, let me get you rah excited about this next leap. You can do. But let's get in there and figure out, why is it you're not reaching that? And how are we going to sneak around? How are we going to get around those sabotaging and limiting beliefs that are holding us back? And so that's what it's about. In the podcast, it's the same thing. I talk a lot about mindset and grit and tenacity. I always tell people that's just an extension of the big message that I'm really trying to get across about making magical decisions.
Man, sometimes that's just how life goes. You go through a couple of things, and then you have the story. But you wouldn't have the story unless you've gone through a few things.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's awesome that you have that story and that you're willing to tell that story and use it to help other people. I think that's admirable.
Thank you. What chapter are you on in the book?
Ooh, I think I got halfway through the first chapter.
Okay. Chapter 3 is my favorite. Best chapter.
Okay. All right. I'll have to sit down. I'll have to sit out in my hammock with my iced tea and finish reading your book. Let's move into some of your hobbies. As you were mentioning, you love to run, you love to read, you love writing, and of course doing your podcasting. Tell us a little bit more about these.
Well, the running I've been doing for a while, and I do talk about that in the book. So I don't run as much now as I used to. And really at the time that I started doing that, it was really my coping mechanism. A lot of people get into different things for coping. Some people do some adverse behaviors. That was my coping thing. And so I'm one of those people that firmly believe you can run fairly cheap. You just put your shoes on, go outside. And with us being in quarantine right now, it's an easy way to get a workout in. And it's extremely therapeutic. So, if I've done a lot of my brainstorming has occurred during a running session. When I get my ideas, that's when they'll come about, is during that time. Reading, I love to read positive material. I'm a big believer in filling your cup with, positive stuff, whether that be audio or, putting a book down. And I love to just put the book in front of me so that I can absorb it. I tend to have a struggle with focusing. So I need to have the paper right in front of me to read. Right. Can't listen because I'll be multitasking and doing 100 things and then I don't retain. So I love doing that. But then writing, I love to blog. You know, interesting, when I was growing up, reading and English were never my favorite classes. Even in college, I didn't enjoy those. But I really like to talk about things. And a lot of times I will take stories that are things that have gone on in my life, and I try to turn them into something that people can relate to with a message. So there's something behind it, you know, some message I'm trying to send across, but I'm pulling it from a story of something that's happened in my, either my household or in my, just my personal life. And I've already talked about the podcast. We know what all that's about, but I do interview, you know, both athletes and entrepreneurs.
Okay.
With the running and having the entrepreneur side, I've done both ends of that, and they're very similar. You know, they're different sports, but the mindset is very, very similar.
Right. No, for sure. And your podcast is called Starter Girls, right?
Starter Girls.
And then people can find that on any podcasting platform.
Yes, we're on Instagram. It's all, if you look up Starter Girls, we're on any of the platforms.
Very good. Well, I have a secret question for you. Okay. Who's your favorite author or podcast, or I would even say like thought leader? You know, who's your favorite person in that space, or maybe top two?
I would say John Maxwell.
He's good.
I like John, but I got a few more. I like Jen Sincero. I like her stuff. But John Maxwell would be my favorite, absolute favorite. He's very short and brief, and it's his material. I can put a book in front of me and read it and get what I need out of it, and not, my brain doesn't wander off.
Yeah, I love John Maxwell. He's a really great thought leader for sure. I think I've got a couple of his books floating around my library. Not this one. Awesome. Love it. Well, I would love to hear just some nuggets of wisdom, some things that you would like to share with our audience, something that's meaningful to you, anything that you feel like is a nugget of wisdom.
I would say that when trying to make a change in your life, whatever you're trying to change or a goal that you're going after, start where you are with what you have and do one small sustainable change. Be consistent, one small, because so many times people, they look at a goal they're trying to reach, and it can be overwhelming because they're at point A and they're looking at point B, and they've got 100 little teeny steps in between A and B. And they look at that and they'll attempt it, and the minute they fall off, they beat themselves up and don't pick back up, or they just don't start at all because they see all those steps. And stop focusing on the hows on everything. Just where do you want to go? Focus on that big picture and do one small sustainable step at a time, because those sustainable steps will add up to big magical results.
No, it's true.
Get the sustainable has to get in the head. You have to do something that's you're going to be willing to do, you know, so it's got to be sustainable, and you have to be willing to do it. And you have to be okay with, you know, like if you fall off, be okay with that. Just pick back up where you left off and move on.
No, it's good. If you get off the horse, get back on the horse.
Exactly. Give yourself some grace.
Right. No, that's definitely good nuggets of wisdom right there, without a doubt. Well, Jennifer, I want to go ahead and wrap it up with you today. Thank you so much for being on the show and sharing some awesome information about who you are, what you're about, and letting us get to know you a little bit better. Now, if somebody wants to reach Jennifer, if you look at the screen, Jennifer, you can reach her online at www.jenniferloehding.com. Again, pleasure. Can't wait to talk to you again soon once we're unquarantined.
Sounds good. Thanks, Heather, for having me on.